So first of all, you can always work with the big tantric principle of resonance. You can accumulate within your being various virtuous resonances in order to help you overcome these moments. Let's say you would have awakened within your being perfectly the godly attribute of godly sacrifice. You would be able to sacrifice as an attribute. It's a trait of your system. It's not like sometimes I sacrifice, sometimes I don't. No, you are an embodiment of sacrifice. Then it wouldn't matter how big the resistance is inside, you would just sacrifice. It's by default, because you know this is the way to go. When you become aware of the integration of the moment, really aware, when you're really coming in touch with where you are meant to sit, and you just stay there long enough, meaning a few seconds, you stay in touch with that which you are meant to do, you will see that your soul is drawing you into that direction. The main problem is that we don't hold the focus on that, but we tend to invest our energy rather into the dialogue. Yeah, that's why we have this depiction of the angel and the devil on our shoulder. And they go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, that's exactly, it's a dialogue between the lion and the human. Yeah, it's the dialogue between that which knows what to sacrifice and which way to go, and that which says, nah, maybe not. By mechanism, when you stop energizing that dialogue, you see where's the way to go, and you start energizing that with little choices. You will not be perfect from moment one, but you make little choices. Okay, wait a second. I came to the conclusion that it is very important for me to be empathetic and to have compassion. I came to this conclusion already in my meditation, which you do a ton of, in my yoga practice, which you do a ton of. I had my revelation, so, and so. And I felt it from the depth of my heart. It was not just I read it in a book. I felt it deep inside. That which hinders me to energize that is exactly what I discovered is not serving me. So I'm not a big fan necessarily of now taking out the huge surgical knife and trying to cut it out. It's an option. If this is your temperament, you can go for it. But I'm much rather on the side of energizing that which is going in the right direction. Once you figure it out, compassion is the way. You see yourself in a situation where you're not compassionate, but you would wish to be. Find a way to choose compassion. For example, if you cannot be compassionate towards that human being that I don't know what they did that pissed you off, sit down, meditate with Tara. You can always do that. Invite the angels of compassion to embrace you and to help you to even just have a little shift of mind. With these little choices, what happens is you create a little degree of freedom within an enchainment, an encrustment, a pattern that has been there for a very long time. All of a sudden, you're giving an impulse to your subconsciousness saying, hey, we're doing it differently from now on. Newsflash, memo. Read the memo, guys. This is what we're doing now. We are on the compassionate train now. Okay, yeah, we don't know what that means. That's okay, let's sit down, let's meditate with Tara. Make yourself a list. What are choices that you can make in the moment that at least bring you a little towards that direction? Just a notch. Then you will see next time you are in a situation, you might have a little bit more of a degree of freedom to then even act a little bit more compassionately. You might still be like cringing about the person, what they are doing. You might be disturbed, might be this, might be that. But at least you manage to focus on your heart and feel the other one and their position and how they feel and how it is to be in their shoes. You felt it for a split second. Great. Make a party. Very good. Next time, feel it for 2 seconds. Next time, feel it for 10 seconds. Eventually, you come to such a degree of freedom that you're able to act from there. But it starts with a small choice. I understood this. How can I energize it? How will I eat the lion? And not continuously say, oh, but the lion keeps eating me. The lion is you as well. You make the choice to hold, to say, shh, shh, shh. We are doing something else here. This would be the attitude. When a member of the family puts hate, rage, accusation on you, where's the border of stopping your compassionate trials? So this is the point of Christ consciousness. There is no border of your compassionate trials. There is no border to it. That doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. You don't have to sit in a room and be hated and raged at. It's not necessary. But you don't have to react to that with rage and hate and blame and pitying yourself and victimizing and so forth. This is your lesson. You are sitting in a room in quarantine with 5 people that seemingly, probably not even real, but seemingly in your interpretation, hate your guts. Interesting lesson. Sit with it. Look at it. The approach is to assume responsibility for you sitting in that position, feeling it, looking into it, getting a deeper understanding of it, absorbing it into your heart, taking it into your soul. Hey, what is going on here? When in this situation that this person is, I would go into the heart and feel them. You will see it lasts another 5 seconds, the rant. Nothing can resist this. You have to understand, higher consciousness overrides lower consciousness. You really go in the heart, nobody can rant at you. Inyat Khan took him a few moments. Arm around, everything is okay. What happened? I disarmed myself. I went into the heart. And of course, I'm not saying that this is like, super easy, yeah, let's just do this. But it is an option that we have. And the more often we choose that option, then the more our consciousness establishes at the level of the heart. Obviously, if you find yourself in a situation where you are not safe, for example, you are in a toxic relationship, you get beaten up every day, remove yourself. Obviously, your centering into the heart is not as great as to over-radiate everything that is going on in your household there. So please be safe. This is clear. But then move in order to transform. Go out of that relationship. Very good. Cut the ties with that. Okay, fine. It's very allowed to do that. And then still in time, through healing, through forgiveness, develop compassion for that being too. Winde, I love you. The Orthodox Easter always falls later than the Catholic one, as it is calculated using the same formula by using the Julian calendar. As we said above, this is currently 13 days behind the commonly used Gregorian calendar. So Orthodox Easter can be anywhere between 1 and 4 weeks after Catholic Easter. Now, this is a very precise operation here. While reading Bhagavad Gita, I feel sometimes not comfortable with the Krishna teachings, as if you don't following Krishna's teachings, you are not very blessed. Yeah, this is what I mentioned in the beginning, that there is a tendency of the religions to have a bit of a negative viewpoint towards one another. There is this idea of the chosen people, and that only if you follow that one way towards God, then that is it. If you are a Jew, that's it. You're on the right train. If you're not, you're screwed. If you are Muslim, very good for you. If you're not, you're screwed. It's something that is reoccurring in many, 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 many religions and viewpoints. And one of the saints that I wish to really, really recommend you to read, to study, to listen to his audiobooks and so forth, is all the different accounts of the life of Ramakrishna. He is this one saint, as I mentioned before, who had the Dharma to reveal that all the different paths of religion, they are as valid to find God, to find liberation, to find enlightenment. He personally entered liberation at first, or enlightenment at first, through Bhakti Yoga path of meditating and identifying with the great cosmic power Kali. There's wonderful stories of with what devotion he was doing tapas for many, many years in front of her statue, and eventually taking her sword. She's this crazy goddess with the big sword and the chopped off head and so forth. Took the sword and he said, Kali, I will not live one day without you, not 1 second without you. And he was about to kill himself with the sword, and boom, enlightenment. Kali appears. It was all worth it. Later on, another master appeared, Tutapuri, and was teaching him the path of Advaita Vedanta, which is very different. It is not at all about relating to a certain figurative depiction of a goddess or something like that. But it was much more a path of just focusing, of just going back into the nothing, going back into the ultimate unity of everything. There's this one story where the two of them sit in a cave and they are supposedly meditating, and Ramakrishna keeps saying, look, I'm trying what you are telling me. I'm trying to just, whatever occurs in my mind, I try to just cut it like you are teaching me. Master, he would consider him his master. And but the one thing that I can't cut is the mother. When the mother Kali occurs, I cannot cut her. It's just not possible for me. And Tudapuri took a piece of glass, a sharp piece of glass from the ground, and stuck it into Ramakrishna's third eye. And he just said, center here. So he was there with the thing in the forehead, and with the impulse of the master started to meditate on this complete nothingness, and revealed the enlightenment and liberation through this path. Eventually a Muslim came along and said, Master, I heard you achieved enlightenment. Can I tell you, can I interest you into this beautiful religion of mine? Let me tell you. And Ramakrishna, the childlike nature that he had, he would be like, but really, yes, oh, this is the teaching, very interesting. Okay, so he started to live like a Muslim. He started to eat meat. Everybody was appalled because he was a priest in a Hindu temple. It was a whole thing. Then after even just a few days, he reached liberation through the path of Islam. A Christian came along and said, but Master, did you hear about the teachings of Christ? No, oh Christ, how interesting. He started to pray and to be in communion with Christ, reaching liberation within a few days through the Christian path. And so on and so forth. He went through all sorts of different paths, even changing all the customs around it, traditions around it, clothes around it, and so forth. Eventually, later in his life, somebody asked, so Master, you revealed the truth through all the religions. So it must be possible for you to tell us which is the real religion, which is the truthful path. And he was like, guys, it is all the same. Take one path, walk it until the end, be done with it. This for me is a message that very much resonates with also how I perceive this path. And as much as I'm not enlightened, but with beautiful elevated states that I was graced to have experienced in this life, they have been related to so many different aspects of the divine, to so many different paths and notions and ways of reaching there that, yeah, for me it makes a whole lot of sense to understand that it is one reality that we live in. It is one source point that we search for, and it doesn't matter what name we slap onto it. Search for that point, find it, be liberated. Very good. Of course, I recommend still to read the Bhagavad Gita. It's an extremely inspiring book. No offense. Try to find a version that is not published by the Hare Krishna sect. It will make it much easier to digest what is in that book. Try to find interpretations that are not so heavily biased into one direction or another. If you can, just find the pure text. So you just read it like that, or see if you find some like scholarly approach translation, not a religious approach translation. It makes it much easier to read. One of our wonderful teachers, Advaitananda, he gives some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, which give exactly this very complete viewpoint of lifting it out of maybe the cultural context and making it more of a conceptual read. So this can be very interesting to look at. All right. My personal, most clear experience with Jesus, and I have been a great fan of Jesus for a very long time. I was in the very beginning when I was a child and starting to read the Bible. My mom gave me a Bible that children can read that just has few sentences and a lot of pictures. I was not so happy with Jesus at that point, but then a few years later I started to really love him. And in several occasions of wonderful erotic interactions of a tantric style, so lovemaking with continence and with mutual love, and consecrations of the fruits to God and so forth, through the high intensity of tantric orgasm, which refrains from losing the energy but holds it inside. The intensity of that of those tantric orgasms in several occasions led me to have an apparition of Jesus. So I would be in this very, 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 very intense state of pleasure and expansion through inner orgasm. And on this background, I would spontaneously start to pray, not necessarily to Jesus, but emitting especially the Lord's Prayer. And on this background of the Lord's Prayer, I had several occasions where within the moment of orgasm, there would be like some huge spiritual entity appearing. And then I would like sort of, it was as if I'm opening my eyes. And it was Jesus right there, being present and sort of supporting, even with this, through this particular polarization that can occur within the tantric orgasm, supporting this process of identification with him, and, or better to say, polarization with him. And this occurred for me, several times, and it made it very clear for me how little of a limit there is between all these different paths. When you enter into a very expanded state of ecstasy, no matter if through orgasm, through meditation, through hatha yoga, through prayer, you meet Jesus, you meet Ganesha, you meet Shiva, you meet the cosmic powers. It is evidently so. And I recommend you to rather experience these states, these elements. Meditate with Jesus, identify with him, do his prayers, read his story, identify with this particular aspect of the godly consciousness, and from there come to a conclusion, whether you like it or not, whether you have a problem with it or not, whether you believe in it or not. The doubt is killed by the practice and its results, and for me this has been very evidently so. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.